Hey there, I'm Bill Vargus. In Philly, I'm better known as Billy V from Fox TV. See, I've been a TV sports anchor for many years in Philly, also for a time in New York, in Buffalo, and in Delaware. And throughout my TV career, I've always had it in my mind that one day I wanted to create my own TV show, a show about boxing, a show that would answer the question so often asked and debated over the course of more than a century now. Who's the greatest heavyweight of all time? Of course, we all know Muhammad Ali always referred to himself as the greatest. I am the greatest. I'm the greatest of all times. And if you grew up in my generation, you probably agree. But long before Ali, people had argued that Jack Dempsey or Joe Louis or Rocky Marciano was the greatest. More recently, Mike Tyson, or going way back to the turn of the 20th century, Jack Johnson. And even in the 1800s, Jim Jeffries. Wouldn't it be great if we could not only answer the question of who was the best, but also watch it unfold right before our eyes? See, boxing is a tremendously exciting action sport. Well, at least it was when the really great fighters were involved. And this show is going to take us back to a time when boxing really was great. And there's always that tremendous electric excitement in the air when two great fighters meet. We want to see it happen. And so our TV show will use the latest technology to bring the fighters back to life in their primes with all those guys I mentioned a moment ago. Ali against Joe Louis, Marciano against Dempsey, big brutes like George Foreman going up against Sonny Liston. It's going to be great. But in addition to the technology to make the show look like a real fight, there has to be the research and the knowledge behind it. And up until now, the argument as to who's the best is always just subjective opinion based on when you were born and your own feelings. But there's never been a real objective way to measure the true greatness of fighters. I decided we needed one. So for the past 15 years or so, I've used the television equipment that I had available to me to go through the footage of all the great heavyweights, frame by frame by frame, writing down the results of every single punch they threw. And then step two, I created spreadsheets, like this one for Joe Frazier, for example. And if you look at the spreadsheet, you'll see that against Oscar Bonavena, Joe Frazier threw 23 jabs in the first round and landed 5 of them. We do that for every round of the Bonavena fight, and we do that for several of his fights before he won the championship and then on into his championship fights. And we end up with literally tens of thousands of entries of every punch that Joe Frazier threw, broken down by opponent, by round, and by situation. And then we total all that up, and the numbers confirm what we already knew. Joe Frazier didn't throw a lot of jabs. He relied mostly on his left hook. That's what he threw most. He threw the left hook 32.2% of the time and landed it 35.5% of the time. And he also relied heavily on body shots, which he threw 30% of the time. Now, what does all that mean? Nothing until you put it into context. A guy throwing body punches 30% of the time, that's more than any other heavyweight champion ever, at least in the 20th century. So Joe Frazier threw more body punches than anyone, Rocky Marciano, Jack Dempsey, or anyone. And we take all that information and we total it up, and we also see that Joe Frazier was better than anyone else at getting his opponent on the ropes and keeping him there. 38% of all of Joe Frazier's punches came with his opponent on the ropes. So now all the numbers are starting to show us the skills, the ability, the style of the fighter. And that's just step one. Step two, we're creating a computer program to feed all of these stats into for Frazier and 15 other great heavyweights. And then the computer can take all of that info, break it down, and tell us what would happen if Frazier fought Marciano, or Dempsey, or Holyfield, or Tyson. We need the research and the computer to tell us how the fights would go, but we don't need a computer to tell us this. Those would be some great action-packed fights. So step three, as I mentioned, is to create the actual show in which we see these fights take place. This program is going to be so exciting on so many levels. It'll take us back into the past to find out more about each of the great heavyweights. We see a little bit of their lives, we see a slice of their lives, we see what made them tick. And then in each episode, we finish it off with another great fight. So you can help make this program a reality. We're going to shoot a pilot on May 4th at Harrah's Casino in Chester, Pennsylvania. And everyone is invited to come and sit ringside, be part of our boxing crowd. But if you donate some money to the production, you can become a featured extra who gets seated ringside where the cameras are sure to see you. Or you may be able to get an actual boxing lesson from Brother Nazim Richardson, one of the top trainers in the world, the trainer of Bernard Hopkins and Sugar Shane Mosley. Or you may even be able to get into the ring with the recreation of one of the great fighters and get a video of it to show your kids you against Ali or you against Jack Dempsey. But everyone who donates is going to have the satisfaction at some point in the future, when this is a hit TV show on a major network, of saying, I was a part of making it happen. And if you are a part of making it happen, we appreciate it, and I thank you.